Holy Joe Rock, roll for New Old House. Let's talk about doors and the handles. You know, you just moved in, and a few months later, the handles are loose, right? Let's fix that today on New Old House. Let's look at some of the tools you're going to need. You're going to need a drill, a screwdriver, and if you don't have the tool that came with the door set, you're going to need a hex screw that fits the door, a pair of pliers, and a tape measure. You're also going to want safety glasses, just in case. Safety's first. And this is a job that you can do in a dress shirt when you come home from work. First thing you're going to want to do is measure the thickness of the door from the plates to the plates. In this case, it's around 70 millimeters or 7 centimeters. That means you're going to need a 70 millimeter or 7 centimeter machine screw and nut set with a washer. You're going to need 2 of them because there's 2 drill sets. Now let's talk about how the door handles actually work. The handles themselves are attached in the middle by a rod, and underneath there's a nut that locks the handle to the rod. That's what actually works the door latch, or the door, not lock but latch. And typically what happens is those things come loose, and then when you pull in on the handle, you actually pull loose the molding or the door handle covering, and that's when you just each time you do it, you make it worse and worse. So the first step is to take this apart, take out all 4 screws, remove the handsets, and let's take a look what we got. Now I've already taken off the other side, and this is the last screw to take off the molding. So as I was saying, some systems are different, but generally speaking, this is how the door systems work. This is the main rod in here. It goes in through here, and it's attached underneath by these hex nuts that lock down on that rod. And when the rod's in position, it allows the door to work. So that's one issue that we have to deal with. And as you can see, these have been worn down where that nut was. Or it's possible that this came like this. I don't know. I didn't install these, but probably not. Now, if you don't have the tool that came with it, if you got a hex nut, or you're gonna, your situation may vary. You need a particular size nut to get in there, screw to get in there, and unlock that nut. Once you have it unlocked, the rod will come out. And that's the first step. What I'll do is rotate this to the other side when I do eventually lock it down. Now, that's the first step. You've got it separated. The second step with your drill, and these, by the way, these screws are 5 millimeter screws, M5 5 millimeter machine screws. So you're going to need to make sure that you have a 5 millimeter hole going through, straight through to both sides, so that you can eventually get these through. Some of the doors are different. This is mostly hollow, but there are parts of it that are solid wood or OSB type wood. So, your situation is going to differ, but these are the general rules that you're going to follow, techniques to follow to replace this and fix this situation. Now, 5 millimeters is actually pretty thick, and you may, most likely, the best technique is to use a smaller drill to do the pilot hole first. Now this one appears that it's almost all the way through. It is. I just need to go through with a 5 millimeter to widen that. And the top hole is actually OSB up here. It's a little bit thicker. What I'd like to do next is attach the rod to one of the sides. Make sure you know which side you're dealing with. Tighten that down. Whoa, as hard as you can go. Now that's locked down in there. It's not going to come out. And we can put this in position. Okay. Now, the next step is to put the front side on, or the back side, the other side that you haven't messed with. Okay. That's in. Line everything up and run your bolts through. My suggestion is that the head side can be facing the public access and the nut side should be on the interior, which less people see, less people are going to interfere with or mess with. Now, there we go. Came through. Sometimes it's a good idea to do a dry fitting first. That means just run that screw through both holes. Make sure that you have a clear passageway before you try to do this almost final assembly. To hold everything together, I'm going to put the washer on this side and the nut, but I'm not going to screw it super tight. I'm just going to make it finger tight, just to hold everything in place while I do the top part. Here's my other washer and nut. And put those on. Now we're almost done. The last step is, of course, tighten these bolts down, which I'll do last. But right now, I've got to tighten down this nut, which will lock the handle down to that center beam. And again, I'm using this hex screw, hex driver that luckily is compatible. Okay, now here's where you need those pliers. Of course, if you have a wrench that can fit this perfectly, you could use a wrench, but some people don't have a wrench set, but they have pliers, and that's why I said recommend you have pliers. Hold down that nut and just tighten it down. Be sure not to over tighten the screws because you can deform the metal. And there it is. Now the door is back to normal. It's solid, it's not wobbling. And if you have a Dremel or a circular little mini saw, of course you can trim these off. Or you could even add another bolt if you think it's going to wiggle out. But there you have it. The door's fixed, back to normal, just like new. Actually better than new. Because now you've got extra supports of screws going through the door, not just holding into what could be just particle board, plywood, or even just paper, heavy paper on the outside. Well, I hope this has been a helpful tip. I'm Holy Joe Rock and Roll for New Old House. Thank you for watching. Please rate, subscribe, tell your friends, and as always, have a nice day.